Landlords, are you struggling to produce rental income because your tenants cannot pay their rent due to COVID-19 and the eviction moratoriums? Then continue watching this video because today I am going to talk about 3 options that you can take advantage of to overcome this eviction moratorium so that way you're still profitable and you can still keep that good relationship with your tenants. By the way, if you're new to watching any of my content, my name is Nikki Burns and I help landlords who specialize in buying single-family and multifamily homes make millions and save on average $25,000 in taxes so they can buy more real estate to expand their investment portfolio. Now, before I get into the details, since this is going to be a lot of information that I'm going to give out to you all, I'm going to break this video up into a 2-part series. So that way I am not overwhelming you with so much information within one video. So before I get into all of the options that I'm going to talk about, let's talk about COVID-19 for a second. Now, back in, I think it was February of 2020 is when COVID actually hit. And no, everyone was in a panic. Everyone was nervous. We weren't for sure what this COVID-19 was and what was going on. But eventually it came to the United States and it started spreading. People started getting sick from this. People started dying from the COVID-19. And just everyone was just freaking out, not knowing what to do. The government was even shutting down, the whole entire city. We couldn't leave our house. A whole lot of things was going on with the pandemic. And it's still occurring today. Now, recently, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention had come up with a eviction moratorium that prevented landlords from evicting tenants due to non-payment of rent because they wanted to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Because if you have people that are, living outside, then there's too many people that's together and everyone is not, social distancing themselves when they're doing that. So they wanted to continue to protect families. However, that moratorium has put a strain on many landlords because now you have landlords that have mortgages on these properties that can't even pay their mortgage. Some may not. It depends on the landlord situation. So you have landlords that are, depending on these tenants to pay their rents to cover that mortgage. And so these landlords can get, their rental income because they have to pay their own bills too. So the eviction moratorium prevented all of that for landlords, and it's pretty much stopping landlords from getting their income. So at first, the moratorium was extended to March 31st, 2021. Now it has been extended to June 30th of 2021. So that's putting a whole lot of landlords in a lot of panic. Now, let's get into the different options that you have as a landlord to overcome these uncertainties and overcome this eviction moratorium so that you're still profitable and still maintaining your business and keeping your sanity. So the first option that you have is to look at your personal finances. Now, before I get into the details of that, when you're first starting out as a landlord, most landlords only think about the best case scenario. They never think about the worst case scenario. So the best case scenario is, I have all these rental properties. I can generate at least a 10% return on my investment and make a huge profit. Another best case scenario is, I have all of these different investing strategies that I can utilize. I can utilize other people's money, leverage other people's money and build up my investment portfolio and buy all of these different properties and be profitable. I can make millions doing this. Another best case scenario. Well, I have a mortgage on this property. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to get a tenant and I'm going to rent out this property to a tenant and they can be paying my mortgage. That way I can save more money. Yes, so those are the best case scenarios. And many of you never think about the worst case scenarios. Worst case scenarios could be, What happens if a tenant does not pay their rent? What are my options? How will I be able to pay the mortgage on the property now? Another worst case scenario. What if the tenant damages my property? Whether it's because of fits of rage, they want revenge against me, or they're mad at their spouses or whoever, they had a fight with someone, or maybe they damaged it from a fire or a flood, those kind of things. Another worst case scenario. What if the tenant refuses to move out and they're not paying me rent? How am I going to be able to rent the property now if I can't get this current tenant that's not paying rent to move? Another worst case scenario. What if I can't find a tenant at all and I have this property sitting on the market for 6 to 8 months or even longer? What am I going to do? How am I going to pay the mortgage on this property if I can't get a tenant in this property? Another worst case scenario. Do I have enough funds in a reserve account to cover the mortgage in case a tenant moves out or the property becomes vacant for longer than I've planned? What are my options? So as landlords, some of us don't think about the worst case scenario because we're so focused on the best case scenario. So you always want to make sure that you're focusing on both because you never know what will happen. Life is uncertain. Things in life is uncertain. There's a lot of unforeseen circumstances that we would never know that would hit us, like COVID-19. Who would have thought that we would have been hit with something like this? We've already heard of the flu, that being spread around, but it's not as bad as COVID right now. So we have to plan for all of these unforeseen circumstances. When you're planning your business and becoming a landlord, you want to be able to plan for the worst case scenarios. You plan for the best, but you also want to plan for the worst. Now, let's dive into what it is that you need to do when you're looking at your personal finances. First thing you need to do is ask yourself, do I have enough funds in my personal savings or my personal checking that I can use to cover the mortgage on my properties so I am not in default, even though you want the tenant to pay for that? If you have enough funds in your personal savings or even in your business reserve, maybe you have a business reserve to cover your mortgage until the tenant can pay their rent. Now, if you don't have enough funds, maybe you can borrow from family and friends or even talk to your lender. So this is all for part 1. And if you want more help in overcoming this eviction moratorium and you want to know how you can continue to stay profitable during these unforeseen situations, but you don't know what to do and you want to come up with a game plan and you want someone to help you with that, then click the link down there below to book a call with me, and I will be more than happy to help you and guide you so that you are always staying one step ahead of the game, even during any unforeseen situations. And until then, I will see you guys on the next video in part 2.